All right, project build update video. I'm really only making this for the reason of when I've seen other builds have questions, why they did things, how they did things, how they worked through that process. I've wished these videos were there. So I'm going to make one here. Hopefully it helps somebody. Not that this is a build that probably anyone in their right mind would ever want to try and duplicate for any reason. A lot of things kind of don't make sense, such as the 4BT. This thing's like 100 horsepower. It's heavier than a V8. Good torque, but it's what I want to run. Had this engine a long time. Bit of a yeah, it's got to get put in a vehicle and run. It's brand new. It's been in the family for, oh boy, going on about 30 years now, and it's time for it to get used. So I'm using it. But here's where I'm at in the project. You can see the engine's just mocked up in there. It's actually setting on the high steer arm. I've really only got the front end just in here just for the sake of being in here, checking my tires where they contacted or don't contact when I turn. My intention has never been to keep the wheelbase where it is, but I just wanted to get a baseline where we were at, engine, how it fit. Clearly I did some modifications to the Firewall. A lot more to come. I really don't want to compromise placement. Clearly this axle needs to go up and down yet. And having the oil pan sit on the tie rod is less than ideal. So the tunnel is going to be cut quite a bit more. I'm going to raise this up more, tuck my transfer case, keep everything as high as I can. I really do not want to run a body lift. So here's where I'm at, what I'm thinking. Steering box, probably going to be a Durango box with power steering assist is what I'm leaning towards right now. I do want to drive this on the road as well as on the trails, and I just do not want to go with full hydro on this one because of that. This is the stock box. It's actually another box I had laying around, put in the two-wheel drive location. So for guys that are doing crossover steering, this is a very, very simple modification. You don't have to change your lines. You'll have to change your shaft, your steering shaft here. At least the length does vary. But you just take off the bracket in between here, bolt this right up in the existing two-wheel drive location. You will need to change pitman arms just for the sake of showing this. The stock pitman arm is there. I believe a WJ, a Grand Cherokee from like 99 to 04. Pitman arm will work well there if memory serves. You can verify that. But if for any reason I decide to run it, I think I've got a WJ one I could update later if need be. But what we've got is a 78, 79, Dana 60. Some of the challenges with this axle are really, really evident here. I feel they're worth it. I like this axle. I like the way it sets up. It's strong, kingpin axle. Parts are aplenty. But this long tube on the driver's side, which is unique to this 78 and 79 Dana 60, puts the pumpkin more towards the center of the vehicle. It does give you quite a bit less room for the engine, for drive shaft, particularly when you're doing a low center of gravity build like this. This is going to end up with absolutely zero lift, and so a stock suspension height. It won't be stock suspension, but it'll be stock suspension height. So when you're doing these LCG builds, just know that this axle brings challenges. You can see how close that front drive shaft will be to the side of the engine or the transmission. And this engine, you can see it's pretty heavily biased to the passenger side. I like to do that more often than not. It's just me in there when I'm doing something real challenging, when balancing really counts. So you'll notice in a lot of OE vehicles, they're actually biased to the passenger side. I think that's to offset the weight of the driver. and there's a lot of me to offset. So anyway, that's just something I thought I'd share on the Dana 60 and that 78, 79. The newer ones are going to have a much shorter tube here. Another big advantage if you're going to do coilovers or something, which I don't know I ever will on this. I really want to keep this a basic build, but it gives you a lot more real estate to live with over there to do those mounts and so on. So you can see Firewall's been cut. Like I say, more will be cut. Clearly this is not something you'd want to do if you're trying to maintain factory dash and heater box and all that good stuff. I really wanted to keep this orientation on the turbo. Pretty sure I will end up with this. I could flip it. Simply just unbolt the manifold, flip it upside down, and puts that turbo up. But I really want to keep this engine so high, and I'd really like it a few inches higher than what it is now. So I'd put the turbo out pretty high. And I just don't like the looks of that. So we'll see how that ends up. But right now, that's what I'm planning. So front leaf springs, I think what I'm going to end up doing is running stock rear leafs in the front location. Copying what others have done. Josh did this on his white Ramcharger. He's got sliders on the front. He used that rear leaf all the way, located it all the way to the front here of the axle. I'm not sure exactly. I think he said he netted about 5 inches of wheelbase stretch in the front. That should help me pretty good here with my get my tie rod further ahead of my pulleys. It's not going to get me all the way, but it'll get me closer. So I'm planning that at this point. We'll see if I run Chevys in the back or those Dodge leaf springs front and back. So that's a bit of an update where I'm at so far. Lots more to come. We'll see how this build progresses. It's been a lot of fun. Really just starting to get into the setup of it here. Teardown is always fast and relatively easy. So hope this update gives a little bit of info. And feel free to contact me with any questions. Comment below.